Well, hello everyone. This is Kevin Closson from the PPI Group, and I'd like to take a moment to thank you for joining me for a quick tour of Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. Last week we performed a well-attended webcast, and many of you called in and asked for that video. So I thought that I would pare it down a bit and make sure I hit all the high points, and if nothing else, make it a bit more palatable for you. So what is this thing that we call vehicle tracking? It's Autodesk's solution to other swept path analysis programs out there, the big one being, of course, AutoTurn. And what I want to get across to you today are these 3 bullet points. I want to show that we can accurately predict movements of steered vehicles, both in 2D and in 3D, optimize road and campus geometrics, and during that process we can perform real-time analysis. Now, before I get too far along, it's worth noting that this program will run on any AutoCAD-based program. It's not quite ready for Revit yet. Obviously, Civil 3D being one of those programs, and due to subject matter, it aligns itself perfectly with that. So, and you'll see that there is a seamless integration from this program to Civil 3D. So again, accurately predicting movements of steered vehicles. There are hundreds of vehicles that come with the program. In fact, I want to say there's roughly 1,300, with another 500, I believe it is, from the subscription download. Now, if you don't find the exact vehicle that you're looking for, one of my clients sent this in to me. They needed a truck. You can see my chicken scratch there. Basically what I did is I started by copying one of the vehicles that was similar, and then I made the simple adjustments. The hardest part, honestly, is just trying to figure out where the program is measuring from and where the cut sheet that you're given, where it's measuring to. So very, very simple after it's all said and done. Then during that process you can perform design checks, and you can see that chart there. That's just basically showing where oversteers may occur during your driving path. And then after it's all said and done, we can animate this and look at it in 3D. And then, like I said, with the second part here, optimizing road and campus geometrics, I'm going to do both of these. I'm going to quickly lay in some parking lots, and we can take a look at what we do. Do we like it? Do we want to keep it? Do we want to change it? And all of this is being kept within charts that we can, extract that information as we go, or extract the properties. And then, like I said, we can perform real-time analysis, and in this case you can see on my slide that we're looking at a roundabout, and we can move that around and see these numbers update as we go. Now let's go ahead and jump over to the program for a minute, and I'm already looking at the vehicle library here. I'm going to close this momentarily, but you'll see at the top here, once it's installed, you'll see that there's a vehicle tracking tab. Easy enough. And then this is all that you're going to have to learn. So it's quite an easy program to learn, and it's fun as well as far as design products go. And you're going to see that there's a consistency throughout this program. You're always assigning a user-defined rule or a based constraint prior to whatever process that you're trying to create. And let's take a look at that. This is the Vehicle Library Explorer. If I pop that open, you'll notice that, and this is what I'm going to use first, is a bus, but you'll see that over here we have different ways to view this, or from different perspectives. I can take a look at it from the side, or in the case of the last one we were looking at it from the bottom. Now, I was mentioning that there's tons of vehicles in here, and you can see they're all over the place. And if I go up to the top just to give you a quick feel for one of them, I guess in particular, here's aircraft. Again, this all comes with it. In fact, Boeing's in here somewhere, I believe, or Airbus, or whoever you want to look at there. There's Boeing. Open that up, and here's all of the different predefined planes that we could use. Now, that may be a bit big for what we're trying to do. If I close this out, if I'm trying to drive a big old plane on there, okay, that's not going to work so well. But what I'm going to do is take a bus and have it go into this turn lane and hopefully make it around this corner, and then have it exit to the east through this roundabout. So again, we want to set up a table first that we're setting up our constraints from. So within the vehicle library, let's see, I'm going to go with this bus 36. You can see some of the quick specs on it, and I'm just going to simply say OK to that. And I'm going to go ahead and start the drive of it. Proceed. Now the hardest part of this is driving, I would say. And it makes sense. I mean, if you were to give me a big bus and say, okay, drive, and I'm sure I'd be taking out a few trees here and there. So first thing you do basically is you're just going to place it and you orient your direction. And you'll see a little box pops up here. And I'm just going to go ahead and proceed and drive this through. And if I make some mistakes, hey, great. I'm not too concerned about it. Well, I would be if this was a real design. But you can see, so far so good. I'm making it through here. And now, this is where it gets a bit more tricky. And I'm just going to continue on through. And as I go up into this, ooh, look at that. As I go up into this roundabout here, I can zoom in. And it's worth noting, look as I turn this, you see how the wheels are updating as well? Just giving me my percents of turn. And I'll see if I can't get this through. And you can see I'm going in the other lane. And I'll just accept that. Now, what you're looking at here is, starting from the beginning, you can see that there is a red and green line. The red line is the chassis or the wheels, and the green line is the body or the envelope of the vehicle that you're using. And what I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing is getting through here without without tearing out buildings and everything else. So far I'm doing fairly well. And as we get up through here, it looks like I'm okay. Maybe I was on my cell phone. You can see where I kind of veered a bit. But through here you can see where I am clearing the curb, but I'm on these bricks, and you'd have to check and see if that was something that was a drivable surface or not. But if after it's all said and done, you do have the ability to make edits to it. Now I just clicked on that swept path, and you can see that there's little X's. Those are what they often refer to as targets, or just grips that we're probably more used to using, and I can move these in and out. Now see when I shifted that, how the going forward from where my cursor is, it turns it red, and that's basically saying that you can't make this move. It's not gonna, you know, again, this comes back to that base constraint that we've applied. So you do have some edits you can do, and it's just going to be a series of, you know, massaging a few of these in and out and trying to figure out where I can bring this back down. Now after a couple of adjustments like that, we'll say that this works, and you can see where we're crossing the center line. Maybe that's okay, I don't know. But during that process, I can also bring in what's one of those graphs that I was showing from my presentation earlier. I'll just click on it here. And it starts from where I started, or my insertion point at 0 feet, and you can see where it's going to go through and show what the percents of turn all through the distance at 5 miles an hour. Now I could lay in different speeds as I go, so that is available as well. Now one last thing I may want to do is a quick design check, and it's already highlighted, so what would happen, I was hoping that I was going to make a mistake here, I got kind of lucky, but if there were severe steering in there, it would show with an exclamation point on my design back here and also show up here. So we would know, okay, you know, there's some flaws that we may have to take a further look at. So that's just in 2D, okay? I'm going to jump over to another drawing here, and I purposely showed those multiple clicks to, if nothing else, show how it could be a little bit tricky. But now they've built in other commands that make this process much easier. So I'm going to use just a standard truck, and I'm going to bring that truck in, hopefully make this turn here, come up here, and then back in to the stall back here. And it's, again, same thing. I want to select one of my settings, and all of these settings can be edited to your needs. And I'm going to go with, let's see, here's a single unit truck. Take a look at it from another view just so you can get kind of a better feel for it. Fair enough, I'll say okay. And I'm going to automatically drive this. It's just taking a look at my scales. And I'll place it just like we did last time, orient it as I'm going down the road there. Now where this differs, I'll say proceed. And I'll pick my first spot. You can see again where as it's moving around there. But here's another command that makes this really nice. There's pick on alignment. Now, and for the record, these aren't true Civil 3D alignments that we're all used to creating. These are just lines. But what it does is it orients my vehicle. So I could pick this one, and you'll see as I take it down that path how it's staying parallel to that line. Then I can continue on, do another pick alignment, pick this one down here, and figure out where that's going to orient to. And then you can see as I back up, I'll finally pick the alignment one last time, pick this one, and see how quickly and effortlessly I've brought that right into our docking bay. And when I'm satisfied with that, I can just simply right click and I can review what we've done. Now it's going to get a little bumpy for me here. You can see where I'm going over the curb a bit, but the rest looks fairly good, and through here as well. But as I mentioned earlier, you can always click on it and refine it further. If I want to try to get around this, perhaps it's a series of either inserting targets or there's other arrows here. I can say, oh, let's just shift that out a bit, and then maybe I grab this one too. And some oversteer may be okay, as long as this isn't a barrier. We may just take the front end over the stripes, and then we're right back into our lane. But mainly what I'm looking for is clearance up in this area of the curb, so that may work out, it may not. So again, I could do another design check on this, looking for oversteers, or in this case, let's take a look at it through an animation. And this really is this easy. There's no tricks to this. This was given to me, this data set, but nonetheless, there's what you see is what you get. I've done this for other clients as well. When I bring up the animation, you can set a perspective and your camera. And this is, oops, looks like I grabbed the bus on accident, but that's all right. We'll use it. We're dropping kids off. Precious cargo. So anyway, you can see from these slider bars, as I bounce that around, I can look at it from different views. Oops. I can take this one, it'll show me from much higher or underneath it. And then this allows me to zoom in, zoom out, whatever it may be. And this works very similar to like a DVD player. I just hit play, and it's going to start driving through here. And I can speed it up. It's making that corner. Am I doing okay? I can take a look at it from every different angle. Again, I could speed it up as it makes that corner. We're looking okay. Now it's backing up. Now what's neat about this is I can actually change to the driver's view. So we're already in the backup mode, and I'm looking out the front window, but there's also mirrors. I got a chuckle. I picked the wrong vehicle here. We're backing a bus up, but nonetheless, you're going to get the idea. And as that's speeding up, and as it whips around the corner there, and when it finishes it off, it'll actually go to the other mirror as well. Jump over. Ta-da! Not cool? And again, there's really no magic to this. It's just, you know, you put your vehicle in there, you draw your path, you select a couple of different settings, and then you go ahead and project this. The other thing with this is this can also be recorded. So once this is done, during the process, you just hit the little button up here, as a matter of fact, and that will record it, and you can record this and send this out, and it just creates a little, well, several different file types depending on what you want to send out, but you know, it could be a simple Windows media file, whatever, so anybody can read it. They don't need this software. Now again, that was in. I'm going to close all this out. I'll jump over to another drawing. Well, actually, let's do this first. So in the same drawing here, we're talking about some of the different layout tools. And one that's been very popular is the parking lot layout. So over here to the east, there is a lot that we may want to optimize parking stalls. But it's not just a matter of drawing lines, then counting all those lines, and hopefully we're falling within, you know, a zoning, you know, specifics. What I can do is they're predefined, or we can copy and make them our own. But what I'm going to do is just go into what they call the Parking Standard Explorer. And here's U.S. parking standards. And I'll just go with this one here, Guideline for Parking Facilities and Location. As I said, we can right-click, copy it. These cannot be changed. They are what they are, but you can copy them and make it fit your needs in your zoning area. So I'm just going to grab this by default and say OK. Now that's set, and the next trick then is basically going up and saying, all right, well, let's create a new row. And pretty self-explanatory if you look top to bottom through this thing. What's the direction of the streets? Is it going to be one way where you just drive one path and park on either side, or is it two ways? In this case, I'll leave it as both. You can see here's flow direction, two ways. Vehicle class, large cars. I think that's you can change this out, but I think that large car is roughly 19 feet if I'm not mistaken. The bays, the angles, we can change it after the fact if we needed to. And anyway, you get the idea here. So I'm going to go ahead and just start drawing in, and you'll notice that my cursor has sort of a blue line on it. I'm just going to start drawing in, and this doesn't have to be too accurate. I mean, we can actually change this out after the fact. It would probably be easier to set your O-snaps, obviously, but I'm just going to quickly whip something out here. Maybe the last one. Now, with limited time, you'll notice, I'll right-click here, I'm hovering above and below that line. So if I want this on both sides, I just would hover somewhere toward the middle, and you'll see that there's arrows on both sides. In this case, that'd be a problem because we'd be striping in the middle of our road, so I'm just going to keep it on the inside, and you see where the arrows are pointing in. And all I got to do is select that. Now, a couple things worth noting is, again, this is using that defined set of rules and for this area, and you can see that there's an offset, and it's drawing in these lines, so I can't accidentally draw more information in here, so I won't have the ability to back my vehicles out, whatever. I can also use the grips, this little arrow here. If I click on that, you can see how it stretches in and out, and I can use the nearest snap and just snap it to that. Notice that again the bays are being created as well as the parking islands. So I'll grab this one here as well, snap that in someplace. Look at that, ta-da, pretty slick. Now to optimize this, what would be my next step? And this takes a little bit of getting used to, but surely nothing hard. You just got to know what you're doing. Do I want to just simply drop in what we call a parallel row? And I goofing off with this, I had some fun with one of the classes that I did here. But if I were to say yes, and I were to pick this, so you can see how that's holding, and I'll just drop it in. I'll say both sides. And if I look at that now, like I said, having some fun with this, you can see that it did hold constraints on this so we could drive our vehicles around it, but this would be ridiculous. I mean, you wouldn't want to do something like this. So the beauty of this program is it's very, very flexible. I could just easy pick that inner piece there and just erase it out. Nothing to it, just AutoCAD erases. There it goes. And in this case, what I'd probably want to do is jump back up and create a new row. And I'll do both sides again. And I'll just kind of eyeball this. You can be very, very accurate, but for speed, I'm just going to lay something in like this. Again, just eyeballing it. Now, do I want both sides? Just the top? Just the bottom? Well, let's say both sides. You'll notice that there's another construction line automatically laid in there. And there's a series of grips. I can take these grips now, and you can see how I can move this in and out, one side at a time. I can also grab and massage that in if I had another curve I needed to add. Or you have a series of grips here on the ends. This is, if I pick this far end one, that just takes the one side at a time. Notice that my parking islands are also updating. If I were to pick, say, the inner grip there, see how the whole thing on that side would adjust. So again, I'll take this one, and I'm just roughly matching this up, and having a little bit of fun quickly here. So now, this may work, this may not, but I can again continue to use those same tools. Maybe I want to throw in another parallel row, pick this one and one there, both sides, repeat that, and it'll lay it right in for me, both sides, and it would be very, very simple cleanup. Let's say I'll take this one that's in the middle, drag this back, grab that inner grip, and again, I'm just adjusting this. I'm not too concerned. This is just a quick demonstration to show how this works. But very, very quick. I'll grab this one, do the same thing. Good enough for now. So, ta-da, nothing to it. Now, having said that or done that, the whole idea here is to save time. Does this work for me or not? Well, I can easily go up to the editor here, and this is a parking report, and it's looking at everything that we just created, and it looks to me I have roughly 159, so good. If I want to update these rows over here, let's say we want to throw in some I don't know, some disabled stalls that are near the building. So all I would have to do is, I'm working within our panel here, I'm going to go with edit parking row. I'll pick this one. Pops up here. Oops, sorry, grab the wrong one there. Let's go with edit parking bay, and I'll pick that first one there maybe. And the bay type will be disabled, and if I OK that, oh, what am I doing wrong there? Pick that again. Sorry about that. There it goes. And now I can actually take it to different bays, and you can see where I'm clicking, and it's bringing in the appropriate spacing per that zone. And when I close this, we'll just say I'm quickly doing this, just accepting it, whatever. And then if I want to get that overall count again, nothing to it. Just go right back up, and this can be exported out. But you can see now I have 148 stalls, 6 of which are disabled, and there's my total stall count. Very slick. Now a couple more quick things before I finish this off. Looking at this one here, this was you saw this on the slides there. We have a big low boy that's working its way around this intersection, and you can see that the chassis and the body envelope appears to be clearing and doing okay. So as far as 2D is concerned, it would make that. Now, taking a look at this thing, we can insert a couple of different things. First, it might be worth taking a look at a profile, just so we know what we're looking at. I'll hit escape and zoom in on this for you. So here's a big low boy, a couple of points of interest. It has a couple of pivot points here, and then it is at its lowest minimum body ground clearance. You can see here that we're less than half a foot. So that's something that we have to account for. Remember, we've looked up to this point, for the most part, everything has really been in 2D except for, say, that three-dimensional drive-through. But even at that, is this going to clear? And that's what I'd be concerned with going through this area here. Now, it might be nice to go in and throw a few additional pieces or visuals to help further analyze this as we go. And a couple of those here. If I jump up, and it's called an outline, I pick that, and I can pick our low boy there. And I don't know if you can make that out. Hopefully you can see that. But I can start dragging this through where I think that there could be possible problems. Again, for just further analysis, and I'll highlight that so you can see it. Now here's what I'm looking at. If the trailer at the back is at a low point here, and the back of over here, same thing, or actually, I don't know if you can quite make that out, but that's going to be the front of it. That's in the same spot as well, or I should say on a low point. What's going to happen in between here? Are we going to do some unexpected milling? You know, so that's what I'm looking for. So once that's all laid in here, there's already profiles and surfaces, all that made. All you got to do is just run a quick ground conflict report. And I go pick my swept path. It thinks about it for a second, and I'm just going to accept the defaults, but obviously you'd want to go in and make sure all your numbers are accurate. And what it'll end up doing, once it thinks about it and processes it, I'll hit escape, it just shows you sort of a big blob here, if you will, where we're going to have some problems, where we're going to actually scrape through that center line there. So that would be the problem. We can also do this in profiles vertically and see if our vehicles can get up and over a hump, or we're going to bottom out, or the front end going to dive into a hillside. Interesting side note, I probably shouldn't be bringing this up now, but my last trip over to Coos Bay, I ran into a lowboy that was a racing truck, and this exact same thing happened. They tried to turn around, and they blocked a two-lane highway off. It was just jammed, and I had thankfully I had four-wheel drive and went up into the hills a little bit there. Otherwise, I'd have been there for a while. So it would have been nice if they had this then. Anyway, all right, and then finally, jump over to this last one here, and this is another one of the big ones that everyone's been talking about. This is the preliminary outline for a roundabout. Again, Civil 3D has had the roundabouts in the program, but at this point it's only been for 2D, so you get all this beautiful line work, but there's not a lot you could do with it. You'd have to go in and still create all of the assemblies and everything else to create or use a series of grading, what have you. There's a ton of different ways to do it. Well, within vehicle tracking, same thing that we've been doing all along. I'm going to go in and apply a table, if you will. So I go in, and the one that I'm using for this one is just a rural single lane roundabout. And I'll proceed. And this box, it keeps popping up. This is looking for scales to match up everything. So I'll just say okay to that. And then you can name all of this. I'll leave it as it is. And then I'm going to say okay. And it gives me, it looks like a target, but this is going to be the center of a roundabout. Now, I could be very accurate and maybe do the intersection here, but I don't know. I'll set it off to start with. And then it says, okay, we'll select the line defining the new access road. These could be brought in later if you didn't have everything, or you only brought in 3, whatever. But I could pick the first one. You can see how it's highlighting there. And it's going to say, what do you want to call it? I'm just going to cheat and leave it as it is for speed purposes. You'll see that draws in. I can pick the next one, do the same thing. That's the second leg. Picking my third one. Again, it's getting all of its information from the table. And I'll say okay to that. And if I right click, you'll see a series of grips all over the place. Now, a couple things that are worth noting. Not only did it lay that information in, it gave me the maximum speed lines. That's there in red. All of the signage is also put in place. So all of this is defined from that table. I was talking about real-time analysis. Is here are the numbers for this. If I pick or if I click on this, you're going to see there's grips everywhere. And if I grab that center grip, and you see the numbers there just to the right of that chart, now they're updating as I do this. And you can make some oddball, you can make it look like a squid or something like that. But, it'll stop you at some point, obviously. But notice, if nothing else, notice how everything is dynamically flowing together. And who knows, maybe I want this a bit more, I could snap it in. I'm just going to move it close, no big deal. Fair enough. Now, hovering over these grips, when you get this program, it's worth just hovering over to tell you that there's adjust the splitter width, radius. I'm over here, vehicle tracking junction. I can move the signs. What else do we have? Another splitter radius. Well, these could be adjusted. You can see how I'm just grabbing one, see how that's shifting in and out. And, this could be for, you want it to accelerate faster as they leave, or all kinds of different reasons for adjustment on these. But this can also be done in a dialog box. It makes it very, very simple. And I'll show you the interface in just a moment. You'll like it. It's you know exactly what you're doing, or maybe I should say you know exactly where you're working. Now, zoom out just a bit here before I take you into that. A couple fun things that we can do. I don't know how fun they are, but they're fun enough. Let's see here. Here's a crosswalk. Maybe I want to bring in a crosswalk. So if I say new crosswalk, it's going to say where do you want to put this, and you'll notice how the buttons are updating here. Notice how the signs are also adjusting from that crosswalk. I'll just lay a couple in, whatever. I'm not being accurate, obviously. I'm just throwing some stuff in. So just like that, we got crosswalks. If I wanted to put in, say, a splitter island, where at? How about one right there? You'll see where a splitter island automatically came in. Did I want to maybe do, I don't know, here's some rumble strips. Where would you want those? Slow people down a bit, whatever. Now all of this, though, I was talking about, once those are in, this may be an easy way of doing it, and we can come back in after the fact and be incredibly precise. I just laid those in quickly. But by picking this now, I can jump right into the editor, and that pops this dialog box up, and pretty straightforward. Well, I don't know how straightforward, but you'll use it a couple times, you'll get it down. Nothing to it. I like popping up the diagram so I know where I'm working. And then you'll notice that here's that first leg, and if you remember correctly, we did this one on our first leg. So if I were to pick that, now it shows it looking out here, but that's just the first leg. And if I expand it out, see if I can get that up just a little easier to see. And depends on what it is that I want to adjust. And I'm using one monitor here, so I'll do my best. If I selected the approach and I pick, say, lane width here, it shows me in my diagram exactly what I'm playing with, or exactly where I'm working on. How about some of those crosswalks that we laid in? Offset from entry, and you can see where it's showing the distance. I just manually laid those in, but I can be very accurate and shift those around. We put some rumble stripes in there as well. Same idea. Offset from entry, and you can see it actually gives me the exact measure, or where I'm measuring from, I should say. So very, very simple. Now, after all said and done, again, this is just 2D line work, preliminary line work. If I like this and I want to turn this into, say, a corridor, it's now built into the program with, you have to have vehicle tracking for this. As I can select this and go back into that same dialog box there, pops open, and under corridor, I can say, well, let's go ahead and create some alignments, and it's going to take a look at the line work. Now, this isn't a finished product here, but I'm going to let it go ahead and just build something so we can see how quickly, and you know, we'd have to have profiles and everything else. But this is going to get you that first go through. We'd have to come in, play with grading, figure out what we want to do inside of here. But if nothing else, let's see what we get. So I hit apply. You can see in the bottom left that it's calculating up, grinds through. I'll close this out. And you can see that there is a whole series of corridors built. And if I take this and right click on it, and let's just take it into the viewer like we would do any other time in Civil 3D. Ta-da! Just like that. Now, obviously there's going to have to be further design that takes place. What are we going to do within here? Are we going to have low points for drainage? And, you know, so there's going to be other decisions that will have to be made. But look how quick and easy that was to get this at least to this stage. Now I'm just going to leave it as it is here. I want to try to get this wrapped up here pretty quick. But let's say everything worked out and we're in good shape. I could then take this and quickly throw in, just like we've been doing all along. I'll go back up to our driving tool here and I grabbed a truck. Hopefully this time it is the truck. I double click this time. Now notice, and this also works with parking lots, where it understands that those parking stalls are objects that are specific to vehicle tracking. So when I would go to pull a vehicle into one of those, it snaps to it. Same thing happens here with the the roundabout. Notice my vehicle is looking due east, but as soon as I make its way onto the roundabout, see how it snaps into place? So I can pick wherever I want to start this, and then it's going to automatically track that. So I'm not doing any picks and clicks here. I'm just following roughly where it needs to go. And if I wanted this to exit out to the northwest here, see how it found its way all around looking back. Very neat. I don't know, I'll throw another vehicle in there maybe. Let's see if that came in okay. Looks like it did. And then I don't know if I want to go in and say, we'll try it, see if we can have a little bit of fun here. Maybe I'll go with just a passenger car. And I want to put that, who knows, I'll start on the other side here. We'll play a little bit of a series of chicken. And then same thing works here where it's going to go ahead and track automatically for me. And then I can take both of those and we can go ahead and do what we did last time and animate this thing. Take it into a view. You can see where all the signs automatically came in and everything else. I'll zoom out just a bit here. Oops. Do that again, sorry. So you're going to see that there's both vehicles. There's one up here and there's one here. I can have them both. I can play with the adjusting. Whoops, a little far there. There we are. And then when I hit play, again, this could be recorded, but we can see how these are going to work together. Look at that, how slick. So that, in a nutshell, is vehicle tracking. And I left a lot of little pieces out here, obviously, but I guess maybe for good measure, that corridor, even though it's a corridor, if I needed to turn that into a surface, it's just business as usual. Pick the corridor, go into your Civil 3D tools, and build a corridor surface. You know, and of course there'll have to be a few adjustments here and there, but you know, really that is it in a nutshell. So I'm going to leave this up for just a second here. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a shout. Hopefully I didn't turn that off. Again, I'm Kevin Closson. You'll see there's my contact information there, both my email and then down below a couple of phone numbers where you'll be able to get a hold of me. If you do have some more specific questions, please feel free to get a hold of me. I'm looking forward to getting this up and running for others, so just give me a shout. Hope you enjoyed this, and I will be talking to you soon. Take care.